Well, hey there, fellow navigators. Well, I just got over here this morning and I hadn't noticed it till now, but we have basically a wall of steam locomotives here now. With all four of them sitting here. So let's go take a close look at the 62 and talk a little bit about what we want to do with this one. So, spent all day yesterday doing some work on it, and we did some pressure washing and took some parts off of it. And one thing we did is kind of pressure washed all the tubes out. There were 3 tubes that were completely plugged. Got those cleaned out, and took a little closer look at the bottom of the front tube sheet and what's going on down in here. Of course, it rained all night last night, so everything's pretty wet. One thing I've got to do here, I'm probably going to do this maybe today. You can see how the springs are out of the stirrups. So what I did with the 58 when we went to take these driving boxes out because they were stuck up in the frame is put a steel tie underneath and clamped it to the rails and then jacked up on the frame off of that tie. But then I'd also take a chain, wrap the chain around the rail there, up around the driver down to here. So basically the steel tie being clamped to the rails is holding the track down, and then we're pushing up against the frame, and hopefully the chain will keep the driver up against the rail and it'll pop loose. Once we get the frame jacked up, then we can take these springs and put them back into the hangers and all that and get it riding correctly again. One of the things I like to do this weekend is a hydro test on the boiler, just to give me a idea of how good of condition it's in. Do the tubes hold water? Are there any other issues, or any of the stay bolts have cracks in it? So to do that, we're basically plugging up all the holes in the boiler, putting all the washout plugs back in. I'm going to take the safety valves off. I've got the turret valve all plugged off. I'm going to go and anneal the ring, the copper gasket for the dome lid, chase all those threads, put the lid back on, and put new nuts on, and do whatever else it's necessary so that it would hold water, and then find a port on it that I can tie into with a water line and our little test pump, and then pump it up. One kind of pain in the butt sort of thing is that, on 58 with the new dome lid, there are ports at the very top, so you can fill it full of water and it's completely full to the top of the dome. On these locomotives originally did not have any ports up there at all, so I don't know how they did hydro test, because you had that little air pocket up there in the dome. You couldn't really fill it all the way. So I may go and drill and tap a hole in that dome lid for a port that we can then use as a monkey tail and a vent. So at any rate, we pulled the grates out, so there's a full set of grates there. Some of them are okay, others are not so good, but I think they'll do the job for a while. We do have a few extra grates of this porter style that can be put in here to change out for any of these that might be bad. As you see, we've got a crack here, and this little one here with the 2. It doesn't look all the best, but it'll work. They'll work. So I'm not too worried about that. All right. So hopefully we should get it today, but taking the numbers here, the national board number, contact National Board of pressure vessel inspectors, and they're going to go through their microfilm and hopefully find the data sheets for this boiler for when it was made. So hopefully I'll have that today sometime in my email. Let's see what else is going on with this thing. Yeah, we took the that sheet off, got rid of all the junk and crud and all that was back in there. That all get cleaned up and put a new sheet on with some cable. All right, so let's discuss what we want this locomotive to look like. So we've pretty much decided that we're not going to make this another tank engine. We already have 3 other tank engines. I'm going to do something a little bit different with this one. You know, when you look at the front of this thing with those giant cylinders and that short stack, it does look like a modern superpower locomotive, just on a smaller scale. And so one of our members drew this thing up as, what would this look like if it had the features of a nickel plate Berkshire, with the pilot, the air pump shields on it, putting running boards down the tank supports, putting a different cab on it, putting a sand dome on there, putting the correct jacketing for a traditional steam locomotive. And I tell you what, it looked actually pretty darn amazing. So that's what we're basically going to do with this, I think, is rebuild it to look very similar to a modern steam locomotive, a modern superpower engine. And so I'm going to be getting some nickel plate Berkshire drawings and trying to model some of this stuff after that, and we'll just see how it looks. I mean, it's not going to look exactly like one, but it's going to have some of the same design characteristics, I think. Heck, 225 psi boiler pressure, 15-inch cylinders, and weighing 60,000 pounds. It'll certainly be the hot rod of the fleet here. And lots of power and not nearly as much weight to carry around, because not only is it lighter because the plates are missing, and then we're not going to be putting those back on, but we're also not going to put a saddle tank on it, and it's not going to have to carry all that water around. That's another 12,000 pounds just in a tank. And when we picked these things up the other day, this thing was 59,500 pounds. The 60 came in at 72,000 pounds, and 57 was exactly 10,000 pounds heavier than the 62, but you know, we've taken some parts off of it, so that's not a true representation of its weight. But just 60 to 62 is quite a difference there, just with all the plates missing. And now you add 6,000 pounds for the tank and 6,000 pounds for the water in the tank. Now you're talking quite a bit of weight that we're not going to have on this one. So, all right, well, hopefully it doesn't rain anymore today, and we can get busy on continuing the preparations for the hydro test, and we'll see how that works, goes over the weekend here, and well, that'll tell us how much more work we have to do on this boiler, and the condition of the tubes and all that. So all right, everyone, I'm gonna get to work here.